Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Gardens, the Untold Story. Andy, we are talking about something before the show started. You said, okay, I'm going to do it myself. What were you talking about? What are you going to do, Andy?
Well, I always have to remember to mention Invisible Gardener, the website and the book. People should go there and sign up for the newsletter, that kind of stuff, because I think if you want, one of the advantages with the newsletters, I have a button you can click. See, the other day, I got 40,000 emails, if you can believe that. I'm looking at them going, you're kidding me, 40,000 emails. How am I supposed to find anything? I, I mean, I was looking, after about 200, I just hit the delete button because I could not go further. And that's what happens when you have, so I took my email off my website. See, it's on the website, and I took the phone number off the website because people start, it's junk. Most of it is junk. So that's why if you want to send me email, don't go send it to my email because I won't get it. It says like Never Neverland, right? Oh, what is all about the biology.ca? What is that?
Oh, well, that's my website. It's all about the biology.ca.
Really? I didn't even know that. When were you going to tell me that?
I think that you were stoned and you missed it, Andy.
Oh God! So I need to go to your web. Hi, Diggy. Diggy signed up. I know he signed up for the newsletter. I can tell when the people sign up, and the newsletter is hi guys, good morning. Oh, I can see that. I can see the comments. It's so cool. Cheers, Diggy.
You sound like a kid with a new candy. You know?
Oh yeah,
my God!
It's a new can. But in the newsletter, what I've done is I'm very clever. So when I have a button that says clicks on it, an email comes up, it automatically propagates. You just fill in the blank and you send it to me. It goes into a box.
Yeah.
Because it comes from my server directly to me. Right in a box. I don't have to look for it. And then then you can see what's going on and talk to me directly if you have questions. This is the ideal place. I would rather we talk. Hey, I wish I could have mowed la camp compost episode.
Yeah, we had Camp Compost. They're a group from Michigan doing an event here in September, and we had them on earlier today, and that's what they're referring to.
I have to watch all these things. I literally have to start watching everything because they all sound really, really cool. I like to be a part of it all, in terms of understanding. Today we're talking about, what are we talking about? Organic matter?
Soil organic matter, yes.
And interesting, I was talking recently to some people who.
No, you don't talk to people. You talk to plants, trees.
Well, I do. But people are the ones that get in the way.
Yeah, pretty much. Eh?
And the number one thing they say is, I don't understand. So I'm changing some things. I'm not going to tell people how to heal the soil anymore because they have no idea what the heck. It's like foreign to them. And they say, now this proves that you're crazy. You're talking to what? The soil now? Oh my God. So I just call myself an organic arborist and leave it at that. You see, and the place I was at today, they have a new gardener there. My customers will go through gardeners. If the gardeners should be able to say, "Oh, compost, right? Cool." But they go to the store and they buy junk.
Yeah,
junk in, junk in, junk out. And then they say, and then they put it in, and then the junk is like, it's not really even junk. It's okay. Sewer sludge is the real name for it. Like biosolids, and they sell it as compost. You know what that is, right? That's like toxic. They used to have a product called Milorganite. Do you remember that?
Milorganite.
Milorganite. So Milorganite is.
I don't think I know it.
It's sewer sludge, basically. And they used to call it sewer sludge. Now they call it biosolids, and then they've given that up. They call it compost. Every city has this problem of human waste, right?
Yeah.
And if they did it right, the waste would be really clean, but they don't. They put it in the pool. It's like a giant pool, and they dry it, and they kill off. They have to kill the manure bacteria, and all, so they kill every living thing off in there. It's a concentrated product because it has toxins, lots of heavy metals. You name it, right? And then it has, it doesn't get rid of the medicine that people take. And then I find out anything you take comes out of your body, goes in there and in there, and it ends up concentrated over there.
Hmm.
And then it used so they got sued once because they were using it on a golf course, and the guy it was called a barefoot. It was called a barefoot. Um, what do you do? A golfer, barefoot golfer. He would
Okay.
he'd be barefoot. He died from heavy metal poisoning, which he absorbs through his feet. Channel has got over 90,000 views now. That's cool. Is that this channel?
That's this channel.
I-
Yeah. We're over 90,000 views, 778 subscribers or something like that as of this morning.
Oh,
We're
excellent.
growing steadily.
Excellent. That's the idea. That's what I want to do. I want to start growing. I have 1,000 followers, 1,000 and something
Yeah. Yeah.
followers, and I'm getting closer and closer to that 4,000 hours mark.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm going to be doing soon is live streaming.
Hmm.
I like that. I like to be, and I really like to be able to talk to people and work with them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm expanding my area. But one of the things about, we were talking, I was at a customer who got another gardener, and the gardeners are really cool. He likes what he's doing. And he says, when because they go and buy soil. Now they go buy soil. They weren't buying any soil before, and they actually get it to the same place that Layton has his products being made.
Oh, fantastic.
So they're making it a large scale now. So he buys the soil, and I inoculate the soil with my microbes.
Yeah.
Before the gardener puts it down, and he started about 2 or 3 months ago, and.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens was before I've been going there for 20 years, okay, and every month I would be spraying my microbes, and every month I kept saying, well, this is not soil, because my microbes they send me text, you bastard, what are you doing putting, you said this would be no, it's like we can't grow here, we can't do anything. So I basically I make a product called tree vents. It's basically they're clay drain pipes, they're round like that, about that long, put them in the ground, little drip system, put a filter on the drip system, and the liquid goes through there. And I call it a microbial city.
Okay.
Because there is where I want the microbes to survive, and they will slowly expand out. But they have a real hard time in non-soil environment. And what they really like is organic matter. Where's the organic? Where's the food? Where's the good shit, they call it? Where's the good shit? What's going on here? And the problem is the gardeners take the organic matter out. They clean everything up and just take it away.
Leaves, grass, everything. They're taking the life away, the food source.
They take it away. And I said, Mother Nature, I got a letter from Mother Nature the other day, and I know did I tell you that in this podcast? Did I go over that letter that Mother Nature sent me? You're saying yes? Do you remember it?
No, I don't remember
the letter.
The letter.
She says, Andy, could you tell people I'm trying to make soil, yet they're taking everything away. They rake the leaves up. I drop the leaves. What do you think I drop the leaves for? Because I want to convert it into soil. Why do you think I do all this stuff? And they take it away. They want it so clean.
Yeah.
And that they literally do not allow soil to be made the way it's normally made. The organic matter, it gets taken away. Right? They dump it somewhere else, and they don't even turn it into compost again either. See what I mean? They don't bring it back to this. So you have no soil. They have stopped the process, and they complain to me, and they say that tree's not doing well. You're supposed to take care of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You're supposed to take care of it. And I said, well, you're supposed to stop. You're supposed to add compost or soil, because nowadays what's happening. Well, I'm working on getting a couple. I love to talk about compost. We should do that sometimes because people don't make compost the right way.
Correct. Okay? Yeah.
They say, I love it when you go to the store, it says compost, no manure added, no manure used. I'm going, well, that's like pre-compost. It's not really compost. If it doesn't have animal manure, it doesn't have to me, the proper microbes only come from animal manure. Am I wrong?
They do need a lot of those or the biology that exists in there, but you can't get it in other sources. But the best is the animal manure, chicken manure, goats, sheep. There's stuff in there that isn't anywhere else.
Right. And the only place that I have found that works for what I want is particularly the cow manure. And there's a reason why Rudolf Steiner says the cow manure is it. Okay, there's a reason for that. I understand that all animals have their own microbial activity going on in their stomach. Okay, I understand they're all different.
Yeah,
and they're all good. They all will eat organic matter. But they have specific things that they do. It all has to do with the stomach. So he actually said that the best manures besides cow is the earthworm and the elephant.
Okay. I don't doubt the elephant. And like you look at the cow, they have two stomachs.
Yeah.
They ferment in their first stomach. So like you're fermenting cabbage and eating sauerkraut. That's what the cow is doing. Everything they eat goes in that first stomach, is fermented. Then they chew it up and it goes into their second stomach.
And that's why the elephant is so good, because of the stomach. Goes in, goes on, right on out. And the earthworm is, they literally, the whole body is basically one stomach. It goes in, it goes right on out, you know?
Yeah.
Bison manure, exactly right. So bison manure is a type, it's a perfect example. If we can get bison manure, I would actually like it, preferably if the bison's on a free range, right? They're roaming around doing their stuff, rather than caged in or in the backyard, because the best thing about bison manure is the grass, and it's how it eats everything on the plain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
and there's so much to eat, right?
Yeah, you know, and the bison would have a wide range of trace minerals, because it would be eating a wide range of food. And worm castings is one of the. I tell people the best manure, oddly enough, comes from the smallest and the largest, the earthworms and the elephant. You know, but as long as it has a stomach, the earthworm is really cool, because that's what it does. It eats and poops, goes straight through, and it leaves a really nice. Just today, I made some earthworm juice. I actually made it yesterday, because what I do is I play some horror movies to the earthworm, and they make them and they pee, and that's their juice, right? No, I have a worm farm, which I'd love to talk about someday. How you make your own worm farm. So in my business, I spray, and what I spray is the microbes, and so I make the worms. Well, worms don't have stomachs. What do they have?
Actually, it's a pass through. The worm is basically like a straw.
Just goes straight through.
It goes straight through. They add a little bit of their biome to break down a certain amount.
It goes straight through, right?
They eat, and everything else, and their biome comes out the other end. That's why worm castings are so healthy. Is it's pre-digested by the worm, and their biome has been added to it. But yeah, they don't actually have a stomach where people think of acid in the stomach. It just passes right through.
Cool, because I should have said it just goes straight through. You know, so I said that the whole body, the whole thing is a stomach. So that's another way of saying it. It's another way of saying it, right? And so what I do is I have a worm farm, and then the worms produce the liquid. I take the liquid and put it, and I use. I have different ways of making more of it. A beer machine will make me more of it. It's a cone, and instead of the beer machine, I got distilled water in there. Put the juice in there. Bubble, bubble, bubble. Swirl, swirl, swirl. And you can. What I want to do is I want to get. And I'm trying to get Layden to help me. I want to get a microscope that I can hook up to the computer, and we can talk about these little microbes. But Layden says there's so many of them, you'll never be able to figure out what they are, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I think that's understandable, because there's tons and tons of different kinds of microbes all over the place. All I know is that when it works in conjunction with the soil biology, right? And the soil biology has to have the human. To me, the organic matter is the condo that they live in. Remember, they live in condos, different layers. That's the organic matter. So if you have the microbes right on top of each other with no condo space, they're not going to be able to do their job. So organic matter is like a big condo room where they live in, and they can do their job in there. How's that, right? And so so what people have to understand is that, especially like homeowners and the gardeners are trained to keep it sterile, to keep it totally clean. They
Yeah.
don't buy anything with any type of animal manure in it. They have never made one of my favorite things to do is make manure tea. And then I realized a long time ago that I can do manure tea. What's to say like a chicken? I must be a part worm.
Well, no, actually, Paulie was mentioning they have a gizzard, and I actually just looked it up. And yes, worm stomachs are very muscular, so it's called a gizzard, like birds.
Yeah,
So
they have
yeah,
a gizzard. So I was right. They have a stomach.
yes,
Mofo.
but not a stomach; it's a gizzard.
A
Yeah,
gizzard.
yeah,
A gizzard is different than a stomach, right?
yeah. It grinds it up.
It grinds it up.
Like in a chicken stomach, when a chicken eats it, it picks up stones and pebbles, and it helps to grind its food up. And a worm, the same thing. Like that's why I always fed my worms coffee grounds to give them that grit.
The worms. When I go shopping, I actually buy two things: food for me and food for the worms. And so I know they love coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a letter from the worm the other day. Said, this coffee is crap. There's no caffeine in this. You took all the caffeine. I want the real thing. They love the
When you
caffeine.
start feeding beans, raw beans,
So they love the caffeine because it gives them that energy. They need that energy to be drilling through the soil all the time. I was talking to a person who's learning how to make compost. He's also learning how to do the whole organic process because he's really into it. And so I told him what you do. One of the things that's important to do, and what I learned to do, is when I used to go out to the farm and get stuff, right?
Yeah.
So when I would get manure, I would bring with me my rock dust mixture. The rock dust is I would have a blend of 14 different types of rock dust.
Right.
And the reason why I do that is because I want a wide range of minerals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I learned that you're funny. I'm not funny. I'm being serious. Okay.
Well, I don't know. Was it a text message or was
Okay,
it a
bye.
handwritten note?
I'm out. So I learned that because when I started doing this, I was always keying into minerals, which is, by the way,
Right. Yeah.
we're gonna one of the guests is coming up on my show is a lab company that does the biology on this. You send them the soil, they'll tell you what biology doesn't have, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be talking about it. And then another person is going to be on. It's all about minerals.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, we'll have to have them on to this podcast too. And next week we have Leah Oram from Quad Ag, and she was actually in our chat. I don't know if she's still there, but great to see you here, Leah. We'll see you next week on the show.
Leah, is that silly Leah? Lily? No,
that's silly Lily. Look, you'd have to scroll back. It's Quad, so QUADAG, Quad Ag.
Oh, there you are. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, 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 hey. That's a song, Hey, hey, hey. So I was telling this guy that, well, see, I keyed into rock dust a long, long time ago, almost right from the beginning when I met this guy who was when I was young, and my dad would go. I don't know if I told you the story of how I heard of. How I heard about rock dust because this guy was using rock dust. That's all he was using because he also had animals.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all you need, really, pretty much, is the animals and the rock dust. And he was using a product called I don't know if we should mention it. Are we good?
Oh yeah.
Fertrell, Fertrell. It's still available. It's basically a blend of rock dust and other organic products blended together. It was kind of cool. It's a nice blend. So I learned what happens is that what you want to do is you want to take the rock dust and you want it as fine as possible, 200 mesh. CD Pool Girl. Hey. And because of the 200 mesh, it binds. So what you do is you dust the manure with the rock dust.
Yeah, yeah.
And as soon as you dust the manure with the rock dust, it binds the minerals together. Everything's bound there. Then you can run it through your compost process. Because if you were to do that without and then add the rock dust, it later on it's not the same thing. You lose a lot of the trace minerals. Because for me, it's really all about the trace minerals. It just so
Yeah.
happens that it's the microbes that provide the trace minerals,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
that's
actually, they're eating what's there and creating those trace minerals, using it, making the plant available.
exactly right. They take it, because I can eat rock dust all day and I'll probably die of trace mineral deficiency because I cannot process
Grind
the
your
rock
teeth
dust.
down anyway. It's like
Whereas
eating on
and
that iron.
that's why I love this particular type of microbe that come from the worms.
Mm-hmm.
I would, because the earthworms have this particular type of microbe that I really, really like.
Yeah.
It has to do with availability. If I had cows, if I have had access to a cow, which my friend does, he says, I have access to this cow. Well, what are you doing with the manure? We're throwing it away. Well, duh. But if you add the two together, and then you make your compost with that, you'll find that the trace minerals are then in a form that's available to the plants that they can use. Even then, we can't drink that because we're not plants. We don't have the setup to be able to go through that process. That's what plants do, right?
Yeah.
We're actually set up to eat the plants,
Mm-hmm. And get the
right?
minerals that we need from the plants and from the animals that are
Exactly.
eating those plants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can't go directly to the source. We have to eat something that ate that. That's what it's really all about, right?
Yeah.
So we can say it's the same thing. It's the biology in our body. It's the
It's our
biology.
our gut biology. Yeah. Yeah. Some of us have bigger guts than others, but don't tell
And
anybody.
I'm going to have on as a guest another company. It's called they do the biomeme. They're basically concentrating on your biology and your tummy, right? Retaining the soil by humic and more biofuel to the plants by fulvic. That's right. He said that these retaining the soil minerals are retained in the soil by humic and bioavailable to the plants by fulvic. And that's one of the things that breaks it down. I'd like
And
to know
he's going to be
more.
on next week to talk about that.
Right. And so I've learned that I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think pretty much that the animal manure brings the fulvic, doesn't it? Right?
Actually, we'd have to ask Leah that question to get 100% confirmation.
Right.
I know that when I take my worm castings or my compost, I'm getting the humic out of it when I strip it, and to get the fulvic, I have to use pressure to get the juice out. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. Leah says if the animal has consumed it. Well, there you go.
And so we're assuming the animals consume it. That's why you want a wide range animal roam around. And
Yeah,
my
more
question would
better.
be, uh, what contains it that the animal would eat? Would it be a plant? Would it be another animal? Would it be that the animal eats soil? Where would you get that humic
Oh
from?
no. She's in the chat. Wait until next week when we have her live and then ask your questions, Andy. Stop. That's
Okay,
bad
no.
boy. Bad boy.
So it's one of those things that's always good to know. Uh, I really know too much about that. All I know is that what I'm doing works. You can see the
Mm-hmm.
results. So they must have a complete blend. That's why I like a blend of things. That's when Mother Nature is very good at blending things. It's very important because you have to. That's why the organic matter is a big deal because I think without the organic matter, you wouldn't have any of these things available. Am I right?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And that's what it's all. Pigs and ducks. Yeah, they go through the clay and eat it. So, and that's another thing, because that's one
Mm-hmm.
thing about a farm. In a
Yeah.
farm, you have all kinds of animals, and they all
Yeah.
contribute. They all contribute. Because I remember I grew up in Cuba and Puerto Rico. I remember cows, chicken, horses, sheep,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things, and they would throw it in their manure, throw it. Even when they would kill them, they would take the blood and all kinds of other stuff too,
Yeah.
and add it to the compost, run it through the process, use it lots of different ways, and that's the key to it, to having a healthy property. I mainly work with homeowners. I don't work with farmers, but
Yeah.
a good farmer should have all of this at his or her disposal, right? It should be a complete blend, and therefore that person would have the trace minerals, because you would be actually feeding the animals with rich, healthy trace minerals food that comes with trace minerals. So for human beings, we're supposed to be eating. That's why I like organic. But nowadays, lately, I'm finding that when I talk to organic farmer, what are you doing to replenish the trace minerals? Oh, nothing. Well, you're deficient in the trace mineral. Even though it's organic, it doesn't. I remember we talked a little bit about this once. People say, well, if it's organic, we'll have all the trace minerals. No, the soil gets depleted after a while. If you keep using it over again, you have to replenish it. Mother Nature normally replenishes, so we have to take Mother Nature's place and replenish it. That's why I like rock dust, because that's one of the simplest way to replenish it with the minerals. Now, if you understand how plants work, weeds, for example, weeds bring up certain minerals. So that's why biodynamic system uses different types of quote weeds to bring the minerals back in. So one way or another, you got to get those minerals back into the system again. If you keep, I have another person that's in, I think he's somewhere in Central America, and he writes to me. He says, I'm having all these problems. I don't understand what's going on. The soil's so rich. I said, well, when is the last time you do a soil test? Because it may look good, but if you keep growing in it over and over and over again without replenishing it, you will get results that will be trace mineral deficiency problems, right? And especially in homeowners, because there's nothing being replenished. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
To me,
that's the problem.
Yeah, the whole idea of making compost is to replenish. Is to do it like as a healing agent, to put it back into their property, to replenish what you were taking out again. And what your main thing you're replenishing is the biology plus the trace minerals.
Well, you consider we used to leave our fields fallow for a year to allow them to rest, to allow the biology to break down those trace minerals out of the substrates. We don't do that anymore. So we have to add, compost and other things back in to allow the biology to have access to those trace minerals. Now, before we go on, Andy, do you know anything about tricantanol, the main component people love in alfalfa? So the question is, so is tricantanol also available in the fully grown Luzerne alfalfa plant, or just the sprouted seeds?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Okay, tricantanol is in alfalfa, and I believe it. I know you get it from the fully grown plant. I'm not sure if it's more prevalent in the seed. If you could do a seed sprout and get a higher concentration, that's a question. I just can't answer, Perpetual.
I would say, from my experience, it would be more in the fully grown. That's what I would say, because once you have root systems going, and then it would function, and it would bring it into the body as opposed to the seed. So it's a function. I don't know enough of it, but it seems to me like it's a function of the plant.
Well, and the thing is, and this is something I brought up on another podcast, is they don't have tricantanol in the alfalfa in British Columbia. Or actually, I was talking about it at the Unicorn Music Festival this weekend. BC, the soil that they have doesn't have the components necessary to build tricantanol in the cells, but they do in Alberta and in the prairies. So yeah, I would say it has to be in the full-grown plant, in an atmosphere that the plant can actually produce the tricantanol. Yeah,
it's kind of like weeds. Weeds will really grow in an environment that has the mineral that they key into pulling out. If the mineral's not there, if it's weeds don't do very well in minerally rich environment, because they don't, they won't be, they can't pull up everything. They only do it. So they're genetically they're genetically geared to pulling up certain minerals. So therefore they grow in that environment with the minerals. It's missing, but it's deeper down in, and they bring it up to the surface, And about what fruit and goss, how do you say that anyway? Fruit and goss.
Fruit and gas. Fruit
Sounds
and
good.
gas.
Fruit and gas.
It's a reference to cannabis, Andy. Fruity cannabis with gas is really high THC. Really gets you. So it's a fruit and gas is a combination.
And he says worm castings and rock dust is the best.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too because the worm castings rich in trace minerals, rock dust rich in trace minerals. The worm castings are already in a form. The trace minerals are already in a form available to the plants, and
Yeah.
the rock dust is yet to be broken down by the microbe. So you have. It's always good to have something in a ready available form. That's why when I do stuff, right, I have things that are ready and available form. That's why I like C90, SEA90. It's
Yeah.
already in available form, right? That's why I also buy a variety of all the different sources of trace metals, which already come in available form. Not one specific one; they're a blend. One of the things I buy is really cool. It's for human consumption. Trace minerals, the liquid you
Yeah.
drink, it has all the trace minerals, and the plants absorb the very same trace minerals. I mean, that's my theory. I don't think they're different. The trace minerals, and they do absorb it because I add it to my mixture. I give it to the worms, and I learned from experience because I was at. I've been going to this one place for 20 years now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and only recently, after about the fifth gardener, when they started bringing soil, did everything start to click? Things started to bloom. The plants are looking. There's a couple of trees that were dying. It's too late to seed for plants. What does it mean? Is it too late to seed for plants? What does that mean?
I don't know, Perpetual. What are you growing and where are you? If you're
Yeah.
what part of the world that you're from. So, and then Leah's answering some questions as well in the chat.
Yeah,
So,
solubility is a problematic, especially when you have to get the right irrigation system. I like fertigation. I've actually mentioned that as one of my favorite tools that I turn customers onto. I use and you have to modify the fertigation a little bit to be allowed the microbes to pass through the unit because
yeah.
it's made for 1/1000 to 1 ratio. So you can make it a little larger, 100 to 1, which then allows the microbes into the system. And basically, it was meant to be fertilizer, chemical fertilizer going through the system, but you can use that to have the microbes going through the system. You just have to replenish the microbe source on a regular basis.
So Perpetual was talking about alfalfa, and to be perfectly honest with you, in Canada we always planted the alfalfa in the spring, but then I was never an alfalfa farmer, so I could be wrong on that. So you'd have to look it up for your area. Maybe it's like garlic; you want to plant it in the fall for it to come up and sprout in the spring. I know actually Ron Harrington plants his cannabis seeds in the fall, lets them overwinter under the snow, and sees what pops up in the spring. So there
I
you
have, a,
go.
I have a friend in Tennessee that does exactly that. He
Mm-hmm.
starts them, then lets them get covered with the snow.
Yeah.
When it comes out, these plants are purple.
Okay. Yeah.
They literally turn purple. So you touch them, they just crystallize. And that's a very interesting way to do it. I would think that again, it has to do with where you live and different parts of
Yeah.
the world are different. I do know that you should plant it in when the temperature is right. So basically most places are spring, right when the temperature is right. I know that
Yeah.
tomatoes, for example, they need a night temperature of 70 degrees. So it has
Mm-hmm.
a lot to do with how cold it is at night, right? Whether they do
Yeah.
well or not. They could be stunted,
Well,
but
and the thing is, okay, you look at some of Ron Harrington's strains, he's got ones that will
right.
actually survive going down to -6 to -8 Celsius, which let me just look over my thing here, would be like around 18 Fahrenheit.
And,
So,
and and he
and
must
come
have
back.
what he must have done is he must have gone through generation after generation and grown it. So eventually they like that environment rather than start off immediately. That's what I would say.
Well,
think,
I
you know.
know none of his equatorial strains that he was working with would survive up in northern Alberta where we are. So he's had to totally switch to a different makeup of genetics in order to breed for that. But yeah, he does torture his plants. He wants to make sure when his seeds come out that they do what he says they're going to do.
Yeah, you have to torture the plants, and then it takes once you get a couple of generations down the road, you know, because it's always good to have something grow, produce seed in that environment, and do it again, and do it
Yeah,
again, and do it again. And each time you do it, and that's a standard for basically any. So I tell
any plant.
people, any plant. So you know, when
Yeah.
I have so when I grow tomatoes, and those seeds that produces in that environment, I would grow again, and they do really,
Mhm.
really well, really, really well. Each time, even better. So I was talking to customers just the other day, and this lady's a little bit. She like most people, the plant goes to seed and she dumps it. So I would say stop that. Learn how to because you know when I grow a vegetable garden, I always allow one plant of that
To
variety or
seed
two
out, and so
to
you can
seed
have the
out
seeds.
and let
Yeah.
it go through the whole process. Take the seeds, dry, and then plant those next year. And you'll find that they're much. So it's like here in Malibu, where we're close to the ocean. It's a different environment than up in the valley, and they do
Well,
really, really
what they
well
call
here.
terroir, right? You know, it's a different terroir, a different area of the country, and it'll breed specifically to that area and the biology that's in that area.
And that's when I was growing my Mary Jane seeds
Hmm.
indoors. They like that environment, and they would
Yeah.
generate really well. But if I would take him to outdoor some other place, 'cause I had a friend, I gave him some seeds. He was in Grass Valley, and he grew them outdoor. They didn't do well because the soil's too cold for
Yeah.
it for them to start. You have to do
Hmm.
it indoors. That's one of the
Hmm.
things I'm teaching people now. When I give them a seeds, I said you have to treat them like peppers.
Hmm.
You know how to grow peppers? You have to get a heat pad. You have to get a heat pad to heat up the soil.
Hmm.
And then you have to, especially if you're going to, you have to have a really nice, friendly environment, nice and warm, plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do it, what I do LED lights, but the LED lights don't produce any warmth, so you have to have a regular uh, light bulb, a regular type of gas bulb, whatever it's called, that produces the heat, and then you give them a heat pad. The heat pad is 70 degrees. The soil pad is 70 degrees. The
Well, you
peppers
have to heat that soil to 70, or else your biology is going into cyst form. It's going to sleep because it's too cold. You want that biology to be working because that's what grows the cells of your plant.
this spot so that the next lane will be sitting there and the sky is straight. Yeah, okay. Um, he's been on this particular one that Silly Lily says. You can put it up there if you want to. Uh, uh, has been on the
Okay.
story matter with Leighton talking
Yeah.
about the podcast. And so the next one lady will be setting these guys straight. Yeah,
Yeah.
it,
Leah was on with Avin Layton here a month and a half ago, approximately, setting them straight on humic and fulvic acid. Now she's going to come on here and set us straight on it because she's amazing resource for knowledge on humic and fulvic acid.
is she coming on here? You said she was coming on here, right?
Next week, yeah, next
Cool,
week
cool. I
she's
like
on
to
with us.
meet her, talk with her. I have so much fun talking with other people that are my equal. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't mind talking to idiots, but I'd rather talk to people who know what they're talking about when it comes with the soil, when it comes
Yeah,
to growing. Because I'm always in a learning process all the time. I'm not a fool that thinks I know everything. I'm just a good gardener, right? I'm good at it, and a lot of times I don't know why that works, but it does work. And I know that
yeah,
I deal with homeowners a lot, and they just have no concept of what it. They call me up. I want you to spray that tree
yeah.
as a disease. I want you to spray that tree. So I said, well, I can't. If you want me to heal your finger, I got to do the whole body. And that analogy is really good because the biology of the body is what I would deal with, right? So it's the
Yeah, yeah.
biology of the soil that I would deal with. Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm looking forward to talking. It's a she, right?
Yes.
Can't tell by the name. They should have your little picture there or something. That would be really good. Because love to share a space because it would make it easier for me to explain to people what it is I'm doing. Because
Yeah.
for example, I started saying I heal the soul, and people go, "What are you talking about?" So now I should say I'm organic arborist and leave it at that. They get
Yeah.
that. And it doesn't matter. And then the process of teaching them about the soil is impossible. You don't teach them. You should say,
Yeah.
"Don't do that," and you'll figure out why. And then I end up also talking to, like, this one lady. I was talking about the soil, and I said, the biology of the soil. And I said, "Look, it's just like your biology." So I looked at a can of something she was going to eat, right? She bought something, right? So
Right.
you're going to put this junk in your body.
Yeah.
And this is just pure junk. So it may say organic on it. And nowadays, organic doesn't really mean anything unless it says certified organic. And even then, talk to an organic farmer, they don't know anything about minerals. They don't know. A good organic farmer, right, understands it's all about the minerals and the biology. But most organic farmers are just farmers, and they don't know the slightest idea of the biology at all, right? They rototilt all the time, right? And the city water is doing this stuff. Thank you. That's invisiblegardener.com. Spell it right. And the city water, the junk in the city water is constantly killing the biology, constantly all the time. So, and another customer asked me, "Why do you have to come here every month?" Well, lady, if you filtered out your city water, if you stop throwing away all your organic matter, if you learn how to make compost, and you treat the soil like as if it was alive, I wouldn't have to be coming here at all.
Exactly. They don't want to learn. I think maybe they have too much money in Malibu. They just rather have you come out. Maybe it's that beautiful smile, Andy, that she just wants to see Andy.
It has to do. So a lot of my customers, they don't care what you do. It's like when you go to a doctor.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do. I do, but I leave it up to you to do it to me, whatever.
You're the professional, or you're supposed to be.
Because, when I started doing this, I'll tell you something interesting. So I would tell the people, look, do what you love and love what you do. And that's there's a day going by and I say, let me get this straight. People are paying me money to do something I really would do for free anyway, because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Seriously. And it's really cool that I can do that. When I first started doing this, what's YPI?
YPI?
Oh, thank you, Quad JG. Thank you for following me. Thank you. And now, all these people that we're going to have a guest over here, of course, are going to be on my show as well. But I was going to say, the name Invisible Gardener, and I'll tell you something very esoteric. Okay, I'll stop you from laughing. Why don't you cry? Start crying, and that'll balance out your laughter a little bit. So
that you won't be able to see the screen to be able to type. She's laughing so hard she can't type anyway.
I'll tell you something really interesting. So the name Invisible Gardener, this is a secret. So you ever hear of Findhorn? Findhorn? Look it up.
Findhorn. It's the name sounds familiar.
Right,
it's in England, isn't it?
I know you can look up things while you're talking to me. Just type in your computer, Findhorn.
Oh, my goodness. You want me to work?
Yeah. And Findhorn is a community in northern England.
Scotland. Village in Scotland, it says.
Right, Scotland. And guess what? Does it tell you anything about it?
Findhorn,
I'm supposed to read all this stuff.
Findhorn is a village in Moray, Scotland. It is located on the eastern shore of Findhorn Bay and immediately south of the Morrow Firth. Findhorn is 3 miles northwest of. It's just telling me where it is.
Okay, so basically what they do is that they deal with natural spirits.
Okay.
The spirits of nature, right? So the name Invisible Gardener came about because I deal with the natural spirits. I used to go to people's properties. I say, let me hug this tree and worship and say, I acknowledge this tree as a being that controls that property. And some people will go, "Oh God, you're a little bit out there." Other people will, "Yeah, And so there's a place in Oregon that you can buy little fairy castles, the little fairies things. So because I'm into fairies, I'm into the natural spirits, elementals, all these things. To me, are living things.
Yeah.
Even just yesterday, I was talking to this lady. Those seeds you threw away are living beings.
Yeah, literally.
They literally are living beings. You just destroyed them. No consciousness whatsoever of what you're doing to other living beings. Which the soil is full of living beings. Your environment is normally full of living beings. The tree is a living being. And these elementals and all these little fairies things are also living beings. It's even the rocks and the gems and all that stuff. They're living beings. And you have to acknowledge them. If you don't acknowledge them, then you're in deep doo-doo. So when I go to a place and I acknowledge the living beings, and I have a magic fairy wand. That's my wand. It's a fairy wand. I do it, and I spread this magic around. And to me, it's like literally the micro, everything I'm spraying, the microbes and everything. It's a magical thing that the property goes, oh yeah, I love that. Guru's Soulsmith. I like that. See, and the trees say thank you. Oh, so what happens is in one place I've been going for 20 years now. They have the people bring certified arborists over, right?
Yeah.
And they say, well, what do you think? And the tree goes, the arborists go, this has a deadly disease. There's no known cure for it. You have, but I don't know what this guy is doing, but look at the tree. And they go, just let him do what he's going to do because, and I don't know. You would think they would say, tell me, right? Because there isn't a day go by that a certified arborist will see my truck, pull me over. Okay, so I have this lady has this disease. Which now what's happening is because the temperature is changing and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
The normal system of throwing fertilizer at it and throwing chemicals at it is not going to work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You have to throw living things at it now, right? You have to bring the soil back to life so it can handle the climate change and all this kind of stuff going with it. Yeah. And so they say, well, they have this disease like whiteflies, or they have disease that they can't absorb the nutrient anymore. They're not taking on the chemical fertilizers anymore I'm giving. What should I do? And I said, you really want to know? Because I'm happy to explain it to you. And so what I do is I talk to them like they're 9-year-old, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I had my chat AI. I said, please explain to this as if it was a 9-year-old person, right?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to explain it that way. You have to say, look, the soil it's alive. It's alive,
it's
right?
Supposed to be. It's supposed to be alive.
Yeah, and so and I tell them that is the key to the health of that plant. So you've been going about it all wrong. Spraying a chemical and feeding a chemical fertilizer is not the solution. That's what we've been taught to do with our bodies. All the time we're being told, go to the doctor, take this shot, I saw a commercial today. Your tummy is upset, take this. Just keep eating what you're going to eat. Just take this and you will be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Mask it all. Don't worry about it. Just mask it. Nothing's happening behind the scenes. Yeah.
There are short-term solutions and long-term solutions. So even in organic, in the natural world, there's short-term and long-term solutions. So when I go to a place, I say, okay, the short-term means what can I do to rescue the plant right now before it dies because the root systems are not working. That means foliar feeding. Mm-hmm. And I learned a long time ago, you just don't want to spray them with minerals. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. The leaves of the trees have microbiology on the trees, on the leaves as well. You go to the forest and you examine the leaves under a microscope, you're going to see it. As a matter of fact, the air, the whole environment is full of living things. You breathe it into your body, you go, whoa, right? And so you can't just spray the minerals. They have to be in the form that can be absorbed. And basically, you spray the microbes. So I sprayed the microbes. And I told this guy, that's what I'm doing here. I'm spraying the microbes on the. And interesting about a tree is that foliar feeding, microbes go through the wood of the tree. Mm-hmm. They get absorbed in the wood of the tree.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's called a pine. It's a needle borer. So
a pine borer. Yeah, we have them up here killing a lot of trees up here.
Right, and the reason
Yeah.
why they're going after that is because the tree's having a trace mineral deficiency. The tree's not
Yeah.
getting the minerals they need because the biology is not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That is the problem. So the short-term solution is spray the tree with a minerally rich, biologically rich solution,
Mm-hmm.
which they absorb. And it's like, intravenous phoenix. They get into their system, and the system is going, this is good. I like this. It takes a while for them to regenerate, but they're never going to totally survive if their root system is not working. It's just like us humans. You can intravenous, when you go to the hospital, they give you the thing and the bottle hanging down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's only temporary, because if you only ate that way, you're going to die because your stomach will die. Right?
Well, it's basically, if you look at it in the military, it's called triage, or emergency, the emergency room, the hospital. That's what you're going out and doing. You're the emergency doctor. But now let's find the real problem and fix the real problem so that you don't have this occurring again.
Exactly right. And that's the long-term solution.
Yes.
Dealing with the soil is always long-term. So I have a customer went there once. Okay, we're done now. 1 month. So when you go to a doctor, you have cancer. The doctor say, "Shot, you're done." No, it's a healing process that takes time. So if you think of how long there's your dog. You think about how long this poor tree's been going through that. You almost have to have an equal amount of time to counteract it again. Yeah. So it's going to take at least a year before anything starts to respond.
Well, and then if you don't have actual living soil, at the base where the tree is trying to feed from, it's not going to fix it at all. So yeah, it takes a amount of time, to regenerate soil and living soil, to get the biology back in there and back into the tree to give it life.
So what I do is I've given up on trying to find a good, because I used to make compost myself. I have a couple of people now that are working on it. But I can't find good compost. So I said, fine, just get soil. Go to this company here. This one company is basically half earthworm castings and rice hull. Okay. And so at least they have the soil that they can. That's what I was talking about. They started bringing the soil in, and they're adding it's basically half earthworm castings. Okay. And so they add it to this, and then the weirdest thing is that they dump it on top. The winds come. Well, first the sun bakes it, dries it, blows it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what does it say? There's a little thing in there. And he has us under his spell. Okay, yeah. I have
I'm looking for the crystals in behind you, Andy, and what have you done,
So and they dump it right on top of this clay stuff, right? And I says, well, you need to turn it in a little bit. You need to make that connection, and people are not. It's really weird that gardeners should be the healers of the soil, right? Gardeners should be keying into healing the soil, but gardeners don't key into that. I think a lot of people taught that, Andy. I think a lot of people become gardeners because they lost their job. Oh, this is an easy job, right? I got another lady that says, I've been organic all my life, and look at this tree is dying. My next door neighbor came over and dumped some chemical fertilizer here, and look how happy the tree is. I said, no, ma'am, that tree is not happy now. The tree is now on cocaine. It's like, right? The tree is on cocaine. And sure enough, the tree has all kinds of diseases, all kinds of problems. It's not a healthy. It's not. And I said, the reason why your organic fertilizer is not working, organic fertilizer needs soil. Needs a living organism for it to work with. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
LIMO, liquid IMO. What is that?
IMO is indigenous microorganisms.
There you go.
It's a thing in Korean natural farming that.
There you go. There you go. And I met him, and I was very fascinated with how they do that. And that's one of the things Leighton does. When he'll go to a person's property and he'll bring some IMO over and bring it over, and that's what I do in the little structure I told you about. Yeah. So I try to implant I do the clay drain pipe because clay is paramagnetic, and one of these days I'll talk to everybody about magnetism and energy and how that works. You talked about crystals, and Today I was talking about the pineal gland to somebody, how the pineal gland is basically a source of light, and that light's it's a crystal in your brain. You know that. It's a crystal inside your brain. That's the pineal gland. That crystal vibrates at a certain frequency, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I'm really good at all this stuff, but it has to do with energy and how the biology loves certain types of energy, and other types of energy is deadly for it, right? That's just obvious. So you can have a peaceful environment by having the right type of energy in the mind. So when I started doing this again, I had these big speakers. I would put it in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, I am playing music to the soil. I'm playing music to the biology. You see what I'm saying? And the music that I create is basically that. I call it inner gardening music. I originally made the music, inner gardening music. When I go to people's property, I play it to the speakers. And I swear the plants, every planet has its own frequency. Exactly right. And it's true. The sun has its own frequency. The universe, the solar system has its own frequency. It's all frequency. And we have the ability to tune into that frequency. You know what enlightenment is? Is basically your pineal gland goes, whoo, and gives off the light. And it's interesting because insects, all living things, are keyed in. They evolve with certain frequencies in certain environmental frequencies. Exactly. The Earth has a sound. The moon has a sound. The frequencies are also equivalent to sound, right? I equate the two together. And it also has a color. That's why when you use a refractometer, you're looking at the color because a real expensive refractometer breaks the colors down, and you say that's made of this mineral, and that each color has its own frequency, and then in essence its own sound as well. And so in the environment, so I've learned one of the things I do is I actually literally make, and this is another secret, which I'm giving you guys a secret. I'm gonna have to start charging you for this. And it's Keys Energy is the secondary product side of the what testosterone. Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah.
So when I talk about gem elixirs, I actually make a gem elixir in the liquid that I spray. The gem elixir and the microbes really go well together because they love that frequency. See, they love that energy, and it helps them to grow to produce more. So not just bubbling, but you also introduce the frequency that. So there's certain types of frequency very conducive for Earth, for anything that's to do with the Earth. Mother Nature does it. All you have to do is look at how Mother Nature creates energy, and you're going to go, whoa.
Human resonance. Check out the human resonance.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that's what I tune into, and that's what I make, and that's why all plants and all living things, humans, birds, all kinds of things, have a certain resonance that they can tune in, and that's the human resonance scale. It was really, really cool. Once you discover that, you'll find that you can literally play music to your environment. Literally play music to your environment. And if it has that resonance in there, everything starts to vibrate at that frequency because the tuning fork will pick up the other tuning fork, that kind of stuff. And it's that we have time. We're running 3 more minutes. I have to talk faster. I got to talk fast. Okay, guys.
Well, I actually had somebody reach out to me on Instagram that has created a machine for growing your cannabis plants where it's putting out sound vibration and just normal vibration and sound. And some of the experiments I've been watching is like pretty interesting.
Exactly right.
They're going to reach out to me next month. They've got some side-by-side trials that they're looking at. I think it's something that's going to be really wild.
I would love to talk to them because there are lots of ways that you can incorporate that into the water. So when you're watering, there's the water, and the frequency is in the water. But that's one of the things about water. It accepts all these frequencies. The frequencies it writes to the water.
Now, I have a question, Andy, because we're almost done, but I have a question. When you are mixing your spray for your magic wand that you're going to go spray, do you energize your water? Or are you doing that for the entire mix, or are you just putting in a certain amount of that and it perpetuates
the entire mix? The entire mix. And they're so simple how to do that. It's absolutely freaking absurd because once you learn how to do it, and the real key is that the human body is a tool. It's an amazing tool
Mm-hmm.
you can tune into, that you can produce all kinds of frequencies. Remember, I brought up the pineal gland for a purpose because that pineal
Yep.
gland can function in any frequency you want to, and you can take that because when I used to do different physical things to make the energize the water, I realized I could do it right up here, right in
Yep.
here,
Yep.
and transfer it across. And there are ways to measure that. That you can actually see. Yeah, I just did that. Right? Do you
Cool.
remember
Cool.
the image of? It's called the image of water.
Image of water. Are we talking the gentleman in Japan that was
Yes,
taking the
right.
frozen pictures? Yamamoto, I believe his name is.
Exactly right. So he has an electron microscope that he would look
Mm-hmm.
into it, right? And he would literally learn how to transfer that energy from his mind into the water and see it visually. He would say before, this is what this image looked like before, basically a snowflake, and this is what it looks after, right? And then
Yep.
the way he would do it would be meditation. Meditation is part of the key because it trains your mind eventually, to function, to do that. That's what you want to do. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that I work on when I go out. I'm actually literally meditating. I'm trying. I'm constant. So when it has to do with not concentration. What is it? It's the name for it. Intent.
Yes.
You'll find that intent controls everything. So if my intention is to produce a certain frequency and to charge that water and have it go out, you also have to have the intent of how you spray. You have to have you can't be doing your homework. You can't be chatting on your phone. You can't be thinking bad thoughts. You have to have the intent. And I'm saying, I'm spraying this particular energy to you guys. Absorb it, love it, enjoy it. And that's what you have to do. That's the basics. And thank you very much. I love you guys because you're so cool. You're already there already. One of the things one more thing I want to tell everybody. So in the Journal of Medical Science, they found
Mm-hmm.
that THC from sativa, your body, your brain has receptors built in, plugs right into it. THC of the sativa, it doesn't do it with indica, but it does do it with sativa. Plugs right in to this receptor. It's like a little oval thing, plugs right in. Just sits right in there. And they're going to go, what is going on? And when that happens, it actually allows the energy to flow better through all the different, we have 108 chakras. Chakras are energy centers in your body. And I'm happy to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about a lot of stuff, and I'm actually picking up speed now. I don't want to stop.
Andy, no, we're going to stop because you got to go to work tomorrow and you got to heal a bunch of trees and the biology inside those trees. So you got to be fresh in the morning.
Tomorrow, I'm going to the place. The lady has 100 fruit trees.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about eating fruit with the right energy. It's just mind-blowing. And the lady says, eat all you want to. And the problem is I would never leave. Mango, papaya, and they all have the trace minerals in it. They all have the trace minerals in it. See? You know what I mean? And the lady says, I don't understand what you're doing, but you can see it in the fruit and you taste it. The Brix level are through the roof. I stopped doing Brix reading on these things because they're like, the machine only goes up to 28. It goes boing. It's up there, and your body knows it. Your body knows it. And the animal and the birds are going, oh, the rabbits are coming around and eating, So we're going to be here on a regular basis, guys. Please go to my website, check it out, do the newsletter, follow me, and go up to YouTube because this is all about money. I just want to make $1 million in my bank next morning. Wake up next morning, oh, look what 1 million people signed up, and then they're watching this. And, I love doing this, but I wanted to pass on my information, and I also want to pick up more. I want to get better at doing this. I want to get really, really super good, so that what I want to do is be able to explain what it is I'm doing to people. To the soul, so that they can understand it. I want to walk away from an area, and the people get it. I can go back for 5 years, and they say, "Wow, look at this," and they continue that because anybody can do this. You don't have to be psychic or anything special. You just have to be a good gardener, right? You pay attention, right? You pay attention, right? You can. I can look at a tree and go, there's something wrong with that. I can tell what is wrong. The tree's going, could you please help me? I'm just, you know.
I'm
But
dying here.
most
Help me.
most gardeners are like, they don't pay any attention. They're like,
Yeah.
they're gone, and the tree's going, thanks, come back again, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's what
And
it's
that's
all
it.
about.
It's the education and educating the homeowners to do it right. But Andy, we are over an hour. I'm going to cut us off now.
Yeah, cut me off. I dare you. I dare
Yeah,
you. Go
yeah.
ahead, cut me off.
Tomorrow night we have Abe from Green Hummingbird with Alexa or Alex. Sorry, I had Alexa on earlier today, and Luna. So that's going to be a fantastic conversation. And then of course we're back in the normal routine on Monday. Anybody in Alberta that can make it to Camp Canna, I'm speaking there on Sunday, but it's going to be a wonderful event with lots of stuff happening there over this weekend. So guys, have a great day, and we'll see you on the Sun and the Moon tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. Peace out, everybody.
Bye.